Okay, here is the solution for part B of the 2025 lab assessment. Again, we read the question before we start. In Lucidchart, using its UML shapes, draw a UML activity diagram showing the following process for gathering information from a potential customer of a holiday company. First, ask the customer what kind of holiday they are interested in. If they select beach holidays, then show them beach holidays, otherwise both. Ask them about holiday activities and ask them about accommodation preferences. And after both are complete, then ask them to select from a list of countries. Okay. Do not specify in which order the questions about holiday activities and the questions about accommodation preferences are asked. Okay, so that's a strong steer that we're supposed to use concurrency here. Include initial and final nodes. Okay, this doesn't sound too hard. Let's have a go. So remembering that state diagrams and activity diagrams use essentially the same notation in UML2, so we're going to be in the UML state diagram section. Let's do the states and we'll worry about the details later. Okay, so we're going to start off by ask about holiday type. Okay, obviously precisely what name you give this doesn't matter, but you give it something descriptive. Now we're going to have two possible ways to go. Okay, so if something, then show them beach holidays. Show them beach holidays. Okay. Yeah, that's a bit excessive. Let's move the whole thing over that way. Okay. If something else, a parallel thing. Okay. So if something else, then we'll have both ask them about holiday activity. Yeah, stop it. We'll have both ask about activities and ask about accommodation. Ask about accommodation. I'd love to give you a bonus point if you can spell accommodation, but I probably can't because that would be unfair. So I won't. But do learn to spell accommodation. 2 C's, 2 M's. Now we're going to have a... Ooh, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's move that over here. And remember the notation for Lucid uses the same sign for both fork and join, although technically speaking in UML those are 2 different kinds of model elements. So now let's put some arrows in. So there's that one, which is going to be for if, and remember that our guards go in square brackets. Each, let's just put if they ask, and we'll move that off the line. Can I do that? Yes, good. Let's get the arrow type right, because that head there is not correct. So let's give it the correct kind of arrowhead. There we go. Now in the other case, we're going to go into this fork. So you can just go else in square brackets. That's a convention really, but it's a convention that's quite widely used. And again, we need the same, we need the right kind of arrowhead. There is a way to say default to a particular arrowhead, but I haven't bothered to do it here. Now, from here, we need to have that one, and we also need to have that one. And technically speaking, we ought to have 2 different arrows from that, really. Oh, no, stop it. That's not what I want. Good, okay, and again, let's get the right arrowhead. again, we're going to go from there to the join. There's almost enough to make you look up how to default to the arrowhead you want, isn't it? Okay. So now we've got our in parallel ask about activities and ask about accommodation. Always remembering that this parallelism in a UML activity diagram doesn't necessarily need to mean literally in parallel. It can just mean we don't specify what order these things happen in, which is what we want. Anyway, after both are complete, so after we've gone through the join bar, ask them to select from a list of countries. Okay, so one last activity down here. So let's go. You can tell, by the way, how desperate I was for a holiday when I was setting these questions for this lab assessment. I'm really looking forward to going on the holiday I chose. Not for a while yet, though. Okay, right. So now we've got our initial choice with our guards. We've got our fork bar and our two activities within the fork region. And we've got our join bar and we've got the final activity there. Now all we have to do now is to make sure that we're including initial and final nodes. Okay, so here's our initial node. Let's put that up there, being initial. And how do we... Oh, maybe it's easier to do the arrow that way around and then reverse it. Let's put the like that. So there's our initial node. Oops. Now we need a final node. Now you could put two final nodes in, one for each of these branches, but what people often like to do is just use the same final node, just to indicate that the thing is complete. Whichever way we do it, either of those would be fine. Again, to get all the arrow types. Right. Good. And there we are. And then, having read through the question and checked that we haven't missed anything, all we have to do is to export using the export as PDF and save as b.pdf as you were asked to, and that's all we need to do.